tonight with the blue backdrop, but you put the sign, and I appreciate your effort, so we'll just leave it. No. We can go. No, we can go ahead and leave it. And not only that, because with it, we have a studio audience in studio this evening. Yeah. That's the best part about this, is that with the chroma key, we can see it. Now, before we officially start the show, we had Mangata on, or you had Mangata on during Jake and Paul Off the Wall. And while we're kind of officially in the pre-show here, for those of you who tuned in for the first couple minutes of the show, can you two gentlemen come see, please? This may be the best facial hair in all of Lafayette. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got to say, we've got, first off, we have the full beard complement with the curly Q mustache. Yeah. If he got rid of the beard, he'd look like Weird Al Yankovic, and if he put a hat on, he'd look like a cross between Snidely, Whiplash, and Gallagher. And over here we have Joe Walsh from the Eagles. Frank Zappa. That mustache, ladies and gentlemen, is the best thing. And what do you do to get it so thick?
I let it grow.
From a distance, it doesn't even look real. It looks so perfect.
You got Tom Selleck.
My mustache, huh, boy?
You've got the curly Q thing, but that is the and with the glasses, he's got the John Holmes thing going. It's absolutely beautiful. So thank you for coming in and.
What about you, Seth Rogen?
Oh. I almost said something that would have gotten me kicked off of AOC. Because of that comment. Mangata, by the way, where are you guys going to be playing? For those who did watch Jake and Paul Off the Wall, where can they see you next?
June 17th at Artmosphere.
June 17th at Artmosphere. You can check them out over there. I can't tell you to go. I cannot do a call of action, but I can say you can see them there. That is legal per AOC. Yes, the man with the toque in the background can. We've got great facial hair and great Canadian hats here with Mangata. So there you go. One more round of applause for Mangata, ladies and gentlemen. Thank them for being such great sports. As we open up the first part of the show, having a studio audience in here is really nice. It gives us something to work with. Live from the AOC studio. Now we'll start the show. Live from the AOC studio, deep in the heart of downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. It's fun. It's excitement. It's a studio audience. That's rare. It's New Orleans getting rid of they're not getting rid of the past. They're just getting rid of a bunch of buttheads who tried ruining America. Those statues are now gone. Oh no, you're good. At first, I thought he was giving me I was getting a little bit of a kick drum for the show. I was like, hold on, wait. There's a little bit of rhythm there. I like that. You're giving me ideas to make this show better as we go along with the breakdown process. I like that. It is let's see. It's the Confederate monuments being taken down. It is raindrops keep falling on the heads of the Ragin' Cajun softball team. It's pro wrestling. We'll find something there to talk about this evening. It's all that and a bag of chips. Right here live, you see it right there on your screen, 124 East Main. Good evening, folks. I am Ian Ozan. Happy that you are here with me. We'll be here for another 52.5 minutes. Phone lines are open, 337-366-8951. Extension number duh. You can go ahead. You can call it. Going back to Mangata, the band here, you know that they're a good band because they've got roadies helping them take their stuff out of the building. I've never seen a local band have people help them carry stuff out of AOC. Let's just hope tonight that Jake doesn't leave the side door open. Did Jake tell you about that? Yeah. About what happened? Yeah. So, which, by the way, we're still trying to figure out where that dude came from. From the show, what was that? 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks? 3 weeks? Speaking of past shows, we're coming up now on our 9th anniversary here on AOC. Next month, we'll hit the 9-year mark. We'll begin year number 10 of 124 East Main, which makes me feel old. I go back, I'll run across an old clip of the show, and I'm like, what happened to that kid? He was relatively good looking. He was slim. He was young. And he transformed into this. So,
what happened?
Yeah, what happened? Exactly. That's the question I've been asking myself for a while now. But at some point, leading up to during season 10, On weeks we can't be here, we're going to resubmit the best of 124 East Main. Go back and take a look at some of the best moments from the first 9 years of the show. And one of the shows that I get asked about a lot is an episode from 3 years ago when we were on Saturday nights, our second run on Saturday nights, which has become known as the Tie Askew Nose Aglow show. It has become something of a cult classic to the 3 fans 124 East Main has. For those of you who don't remember that show, it was a Saturday night. I walked in late, like 15 minutes late, because we were coming from a charity event, and depending on who you talk to, there were varying levels of sobriety in that show because we were coming from the Martinis event at the Hilton. I thought that show did not exist on tape. I thought that it had been destroyed. We found a copy of it the other night. So at some point during the 10th season, to celebrate our 10th anniversary year on AOC, we will resurrect the Tie Askew and Nose Aglow show and rerun it here on AOC.
Can't wait.
We may do that as a precursor to our 10th Hangover special, which is an annual feature here on the show. We get loaded before the show and come in hungover, but or at least back in the day, Tyler and Cody and Mayon would. But the Tie Askew Nose Aglow show will at some point be revisited and be run again on AOC in the next coming months. One of the 3 fans asked, "Where's the link to it? We've got to see it. We're going to hold it in due time. We're going to embarrass ourselves in one fell swoop, and we'll rerun it on AOC when the time is right." It still stands out as one of the. Matter of fact, the one fan who mentioned it doesn't live in Lafayette anymore. He's now living in Buffalo, New York. He's a sports anchor there now. Tom Martin, talking about you. He came to Lafayette about a month ago and said, "Remember that show when you're on AOC and you were drunk?" I said, "Tom, I wasn't drunk." "Yeah, you were." "No, I wasn't." "Yeah, you were." And then apparently somebody else, who I don't know, apparently saw the show too, said, "Yeah, you were."
Just roll with it.
So at this point, I'm going to own it even though I wasn't. And again, the show will make its run. And the best part about it is my grandmother called and told me to straighten my tie live on the air. That still stands out as a highlight of that show. So the Tie Askew Nose Aglow show will be rerun at some point in the next couple months by popular demand. After 3 years now, I believe it's been, the show will make its return to AOC.
Looking forward.
We may do it as the week after the Hangover special. I don't know, but with the 9th season beginning, the 10th season of 124 East Main beginning in June. That means in July, Pop Goes the Culture Month will return. The aforementioned Hangover special will return. We will try to do What Grinds Our Gears show. We will attempt to do the football preview, the movie and music spectacular, and all the pop culture specific shows that were the hallmark of the original year of 124 East Main. We'll try to do those, but again, everybody who made those shows tick are now married with children, have jobs, or some combination of the 3. So we will try to make it work, and again, who knows what might happen during year number 10 of 124 East Main. 10 years, hard to believe, 10 years on the air. Man, what in the world has happened to us in this show? Again, that's all coming up, and that's highlighting. One thing that I will mention, and Boozy, you're here, you can clarify this. Festival International programs are all going to run that first week of July, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
So in July, we're not going to, the first week of July, we won't be here because AOC is taking over the entire week and running the highlights from the Festival International de Louisiana, which it's already been a month since that happened. It's amazing that the week Le Festival International de Louisiana happened, Ride On Fashions downtown was having its one weekend only sale, 75% off. 1 month later, they're still having their one weekend 75% off sale. The sign is still in the window. If that's the case, I may go there and take advantage of it next week. Oh, dear. I'm going to say again.
It's like the bad times over here. They stay up forever.
Yeah, I don't know. The signs here at AOC, though, it's like the signs we have are kind of evergreen, though. Multi-purpose room tips. Yeah. Hello, welcome to AOC. We accept Visa card, which that one's kind of new. That one's only recent since after we moved into this building, but. Yeah, we moved into the technical age. Instead of we accept everybody, except for American Express. I think we still don't accept American Express. But at any rate, where was I? Oh, first week of July. We won't be here because of Le Festival International de Louisiana. So it'll be the second week of July where we come back and do the Hangover special. And hopefully we can get Tyler to be a guest on the show. By then he'll be married. So hopefully we can sucker him back in for 1 week and for one show. And who knows? Maybe we'll get him to do what grinds our gears as well. We just wasted 10 minutes talking about nothing. Damn. It's one thing just to BS our way through the show, but that's epic right there. Let's go ahead. Let's get into the topics for the show. First off, UL softball. For those of you who are wondering, and there are a lot of people who are watching right now, we're trying to figure out what in the world's going on with UL softball. Here's where we are right now. Baton Rouge, at last check, and I'm going to double check this now because it may have changed since we came on the air. The last check, the LSU McNeese losers bracket game, the elimination game, was in a rain delay. And right now, Jacques Doucet says, storm should be out of the way by 8 p.m., likely return around noon tomorrow. There's your window. So there is a chance that this tournament could get rained out. Let's see what do we have right now. We have a couple notifications. Let's go to the Raging Cajun softball Facebook page here, and they can let us know. Let's see. Let's see, RagingCajuns.com. Let's see, weather update. Where are we? Nice to see that they gave us a web page where we can go. Weather update. Let's see. At last check, 6 o'clock. Heavier rain currently falling at Tiger Park. 3+ hours into the current weather delay. LSU McNeese, no score, bottom of the second inning. Again, there's a chance that tonight's games could be washed out. The rain is continuing. Expected to stop around 8 o'clock. Regardless of the outcome of tonight's game, the NCAA cannot begin games after 11 p.m. So even if McNeese LSU does get restarted this evening after 8 o'clock, they pull the tarp off, and that game does go to a finish, the first championship game more than likely will not begin this evening. And then there's a chance that more rain will happen tomorrow. If everything holds right now, if the Cajuns do not get a chance to play their championship game, if the Cajuns cannot get back on the field because they are the undefeated team in the Baton Rouge Regional, if the rest of the tournament gets washed out, UL will move on to the Super Regional, which will be at Florida State, will be in Tallahassee. Florida State closed out their Super Regional today. We know they're going to be hosting. So the winner of this regional is going to Tallahassee. If LSU beats McNeese in this game, should it be able to be continued, and LSU beats McNeese, LSU would have to beat UL in the first championship game to make sure that it would clinch a super regional bid should a rainout happen. If McNeese upsets LSU, then the Cajuns, regardless of what happens, would move on to the super regional if the tournament were to be rained out. So if you're a Raging Cajun fan, send good vibes away to McNeese. And that's the one way to guarantee the Cajuns move on to Tallahassee should this tournament be washed out. But as we just mentioned a second ago, we are now more than 3 hours into the current rain delay in Baton Rouge at Tiger Park. LSU McNeese scoreless in the second inning. So that's where we are right now. The Raging Cajuns most likely will not be playing today. No word on when they would be playing tomorrow. Probably, again, based on the rain showers coming through, earliest they would start would be noon or thereafter. So at this point, we just have to wait and see what will happen with the UL Regional, but we do know the Cajuns are in the championship game. They beat LSU yesterday. The NCAA softball Twitter page said it was, how do they describe it? A shocker? Yeah, I think that was the word. They described it as a shocker. Not as an upset, but they called it a shocking victory for the Raging Cajuns. It wasn't a shocker. If you follow Raging Cajun softball long enough, that victory was expected. The Cajuns have never lost at the new Tiger Park softball facility. The Raging Cajuns are 10-0 against LSU in that venue. The Raging Cajuns, quite frankly, should have been hosting this regional. Because when it's all said and done, if you look at the records, you look at the opponents, you look at the RPI, you look at everything, the Raging Cajuns were the better team during the regular season. I know we can say SEC bias, ESPN has an SEC bias. I know we can say whatever we want about LSU, but the fact remains that LSU got the regional. The Cajuns and their fans, and Cajun fans get big-time credit for this, for traveling to Tiger Park and making Tiger Park Lamson Park East and turning that venue into a home away from home. To those Cajun fans who went to Baton Rouge for the regional, I salute you. Job well done. To Michael Lotief and his team, job well done thus far. Hopefully you can close it out if Mother Nature will allow you to close it out. The good news is, again, the Cajuns have put themselves in a position to where if this tournament does get rained out and they cannot play again, they will move on to Tallahassee to take on Florida State in next weekend's Super Regional. So there is that. Also on the sports side, I'll mention this briefly. If you get a chance, if you missed last night's boxing event on HBO, if you missed the Terrence Bud Crawford and Felix Diaz fight, don't necessarily waste your time with the Crawford-Diaz fight because it was a one-sided affair. But the first fight on that card, the undercard bout, between, I'm going to have to go back and get the names here because I'm blanking on the two people who contested that bout. If you get a chance to go back and watch last night's card, you have to go back and watch the Ray Beltran Jonathan Michello fight. I'm not going to tell you who won, but I will tell you that fight has a knockout of the year candidate. If you like a good, clean knockout, that's a fight to watch. Again, I'm not going to tell you who won, but go back and watch Beltran Michello. That, my friends, is how boxing should be. And speaking of boxing, I had someone call the Ozone yesterday on ESPN 1420 when we were talking boxing and tell me that boxing was dead. I would disagree with that, but if the sanctioning bodies continue the way they're going right now, especially the WBA, with creating interim champions and regular champions and super champions and giving a belt to everybody, boxing will continue to languish and continue to stay stagnant at best while mixed martial arts continues its upward trend and its upward rise. Earlier today, word came that Shannon Briggs, 45-year-old Shannon Briggs, who at one point was the lineal heavyweight champion of the world because the sanctioning bodies, after they stripped George Foreman of his championship, Foreman beat each opponent until he got to Shannon Briggs in 1998. Foreman was still the lineal champion at that time. Briggs beat him. So technically Briggs had at one point a claim to the lineal heavyweight championship. We are now, we're in 2017. We're 19 years removed from Shannon Briggs' defeat of George Foreman. We're 19 years removed from Shannon Briggs taking a claim or staking a claim to the lineal heavyweight championship of the world. Shannon Briggs now is the same age that George Foreman was when he beat Michael Moore to win the heavyweight championship of the world in 1994. Shannon Briggs at 45 would have been placed in a bout for the regular WBA World Heavyweight Championship now that Anthony Joshua is regarded as a WBA super champion because he holds 2 of the title belts. Everybody and their mama knows that Shannon Briggs should not be contending for a championship. His opponent, whose name I don't even remember, is not even on the radar to be a heavyweight championship contender. Anthony Joshua right now has 2 of the belts. He's got the WBA title and the IBF title. That should be it. There should be no regular champions. There should be no interim champions. None of that BS. One belt for each weight class in each sanctioning body. That's how it should be. None of the championships right now in any of the divisions are unified. We may get there with the middleweight title sooner rather than later. There's a chance that can happen. We're going to get close in September when Canelo Alvarez, the lineal middleweight champion, will face off against Gennady Golovkin, who has 3 of the belts. The WBO has its own champion. He's from Britain. I'm blanking on his name. Daniel something. And if we can get his belt in the fold, it would be even better. But let's get through Canelo and Triple G first, and that way we can be as close as we've been in almost 10 years to having the middleweight title unified. The heavyweight championship, I'm not going to hold out too much hope, but there is a chance that we can have unification there. Anthony Joshua has 2 of the belts. He's got the WBA and the IBF belt. If Deontay Wilder, if matchmakers can get a bout made between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, get the IBF, the WBC, and the WBA belts, the 3 oldest belts together. And then the New Zealander, the Kiwi, who holds the WBO belt, Daniel Parker, have him fight whoever the winner is, unify the heavyweight titles. Again, that's wishful thinking. Terrence Crawford, though, in the junior lightweight division, though, maybe is he? Hold on, Terrence Crawford, is he junior lightweight or junior welterweight? I need to double check that. Let's see. But whatever the case is, and Terrence Crawford has right now, I believe, 3 of the belts, or 2 of the belts. And let's see, Terrence Crawford. Crawford says he wants Manny Pacquiao next. I doubt that's going to happen. Terrence Crawford's got the WBC, WBO, and lineal light welterweight championship. Last night, he called out Keith Thurman and Manny Pacquiao. Why Terrence Bud Crawford would want Manny Pacquiao right now, I have no idea. Julius Ndongo, who holds the other junior welterweight belts, was at ringside. And Crawford said he'd take Ndongo or Thurman, but he would like Ndongo to be his final bout. He would like a unification title fight to be his final fight, which I don't know why. He did say the only fight he's looking for is Manny Pacquiao. If that fight doesn't happen, get Ndongo or Keith Thurman or whoever. Right now, again, as we mentioned, Crawford holds 2 of the light welterweight belts. Ndongo holds the other 2. If matchmakers were smart and the sanctioning bodies were smarter, and we all know they're about the money, they would set up the fight with Ndongo and Crawford to get those bouts, or to get that bout made right now, put it on pay-per-view, and unify the junior welterweight title. And that way, at the very least, the 4 alphabet soup belts and the lineal championship could once again be won. And then we can go forward and promote one champion in at least that one weight division. We're coming close to it in the middleweight division, the junior welterweight, and maybe it'll happen. I'm holding out hope that it can happen in the heavyweight division. But we've not had true title unification since, get this, Bernard Hopkins held the middleweight championship. That was, he lost the belts, what? Has it been 5 years already? It's getting close to there. But it's been a while since we've had a unified champion in any of the weight divisions. But boxing, hear our pleas, give us unified champions and get rid of all this regular title, interim title BS. Let there be one championship per division, per alphabet soup organization. 366-8951, that is the phone number. There's our boxing spiel for the evening. I'm not even going to touch the NBA playoffs right now because the NBA playoffs have just been a mess as of last check. So, why bother with that? At the rate we're going to wind up getting a sweep in both the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals. For those of you who wanted to see a rematch between Golden State and Cleveland, you're going to get it. 3rd year in a row. that we see LeBron James and LeBron James and company take on the folks from the Bay Area. This may be is it next year or the year after that the Warriors are moving back across the Bay from Oakland to San Francisco? They're building a new stadium from them. If you've ever been to Oakland or you know people in Oakland, you've got to feel sorry for them. They're losing the Raiders. They're going to be losing the Warriors. And all they're going to have left is the Oakland Athletics. At least Oakland, Alameda County wisened up and is now going to build a new stadium for the Athletics and make sure they don't leave town. At least Oakland still has a team. For what it's worth, the Athletics are the only franchise, or the only Oakland franchise to have won a championship in the last 30 years. Lord, Oakland hasn't. No, take that back, because Golden State won the title 2 years ago. Before that, Oakland last won a championship in 1989, the Earthquake World Series. Poor Oakland. Poor Oakland. All right, 366-8951. That is the phone number for those of you who want to get in. We've got a half an hour left in the show. Let's move on to the heavier topics now. The Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus is holding its last show today in Nassau County, New York, at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. And the announcement that Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey was shutting down after 147 years came, that was back in January, I believe, that the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus was shutting down. And tonight is the final circus performance for the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey. But the good news is, for those of you who love a circus, you still have Donald Trump in the White House. Last week, as someone who works in the news industry, I wish that all the scandalous stuff that broke last week would come before 15 minutes before deadline. When news breaks at 4:45, it makes it difficult to get a show on the air. But in all seriousness, everything that's been going on in Washington, D.C. over the course of the last week, all of the stuff that's been coming out of the White House, that starting with James Comey getting fired 2 weeks ago, to Donald Trump tweeting out there may be recordings, to Sally Yates' testimony, and then just everything that happened last week with, most recently, James Comey agreeing to testify before the Senate Intelligence Committee, with Donald Trump allegedly calling Comey what did he call him? I don't even remember it now. Calling him, it'll come to me later on. Saying that he was a nut job. There we go. Referring to Comey as a nut job. Allegations that Trump gave classified information to the Russians. That Rod Rosenstein knew about the firing before it was going to happen. That all the way up to the naming of Bob Mueller as Bob Mueller as special counsel. And lest we forget that Paul Ryan allegedly put the kibosh on a conversation and swore people to secrecy after House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy was told, allegedly jokingly, that or said, and I quote, that I'll bet you that there are two people funding Donald Trump. The Russians among them. Or I should say Kevin McCarthy alleging that the Russians were funding Donald Trump. I forget the exact quote. It's good for TV news. All of this stuff makes for an interesting news cycle. Certainly making the 24-hour news cycle more interesting as of late. But the one thing that I would caution everyone about, and to give the Democratic Party credit where credit's due, and lately you really can't give them much credit for anything, but you can give them credit for this. They're now tempering their speech on impeachment. The Democrats on Capitol Hill are reminding each other and are telling each other to Lay back and let justice run its course before we start saying anything. Yes, on the surface, all of these allegations look serious. Do they add up to high crimes and misdemeanor? Do they add up to treason? I don't know. We'll leave that to Bob Mueller. But the fact of the matter is, this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. Keep in mind, it took almost 2 years from the time that Richard Nixon was implicated or was thought to be involved in Watergate to the time that he was forced to resign from office. The Watergate incident happened in 1972, the summer of 72. 2 years later, Nixon was out of office. 2 full years before the bottom fully dropped out. We could go through another midterm cycle before anything comes back that says Trump either was involved in activities that put United States interest in danger, or he wasn't. Again, I'm not going to harp on the election because the Democrats screwed the pooch on that one. The Democratic Party assumed that it would win certain battleground states, and they didn't. So Russian interference or not, Trump more than likely would have won the election. But the fact of the matter is, whether there was collusion there for the election, whether Michael Flynn was involved in, whether Michael Flynn was indeed tainted by his dealings with the Russians or the Turks, whether Donald Trump and company had investments in Russia or whether they do have investments, we don't know what this special prosecutor is going to find. At this point, Congress is smart, especially Democrats in Congress are smart, to take a reserved approach on this and allow things to happen, to allow the process to run its course. Then we'll see, and then we can make judgment from there. The media is going to do its thing. The New York Times and the Washington Post and the other investigative journalists who have their hands in Washington, D.C., will do their job, and they will find the stories and they will report them. I read earlier today in an article, I believe it was in the New Republic, or I forget which, it was one of the conservative magazines, I forget which one, might have been the New Republic, where one of the authors referred to the New York Times and the Washington Post and other newspapers as the, quote, hostile press. Well, what's that phrase about? Not picking a fight with a person who buys ink by the barrel? Donald Trump should have learned a long time ago that you don't piss off the press. He did. And now the folks in Washington, in New York, in Baltimore, in Boston, the newspaper writers and the investigative journalists in the major cities in this country, those who report at the White House on a day-to-day basis, are going to find any and every hole to poke to make Donald Trump regret that he ever said an unkind word about them. You don't pick a fight with someone who buys ink by the barrel. When you do, the press will make your life a living hell. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And the press isn't doing this maliciously, believe me. You can have a quote-unquote hostile relationship with the media or an uneasy relationship with the media, and you can still coexist. It's happened before. Ronald Reagan wasn't exactly fond of some of the folks in the press pool, but he got along with them, and in some cases was able to use humor to diffuse tense situations. Richard Nixon sure as hell didn't have a nice go of things with the press, but he and his folks coexisted. By the way, Richard Nixon at one point wanted Tom Brokaw to be his press secretary. Best job that Brokaw ever turned down. But to go all out and attack the media because they don't favorably cover you, you're just inviting more pain on yourself, Mr. President. Just stop. Just quit referencing the press. And maybe they'll cut you some slack, but maybe at this point, it's too late to go back. Again, the media will do its thing. The stories will continue to break. Next week's 24-hour news cycle, I hope like hell, is slower than what it was this past week. But if more dirt comes to light, then so be it. This president and this administration have made their own bed. Now they have to lie in it. That's just how it goes. Somewhere Mike Pence, I'm sure, is practicing to be the president of the United States. It's only a matter of time that something forces Trump to resign or to step down. Pence is quietly rehearsing. Good evening, Lynn. How are you?
All right. Yeah, the New York Times and the Washington Post, to me, that newspaper's good for two. Well, both of them, to me, they're good for one thing. If you own a bird, you put that shit at the bottom of your bird cage, okay? Because that's some jokes. And I'm going to tell you something else. There's a lot of things Donald Trump did and says now I don't agree with. But, man, why didn't Obama just get a little bit scrutiny from some of these people, man? I mean, this is a joke.
They did, but, Lynn, here's the thing.
Wait, let me tell you something. If somebody with half a brain thinks that Republicans, and especially Donald Trump, get the same treatment that Obama got for 8 years from the press, they are living in an alternative universe.
But Lynn, here's the thing, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to defend the Times and the Post here. They did criticize Barack Obama when he needed it. Several policies that he initiated, and I can't think of them off the top of my head. And I think some of them had to do with security. The Times, the Times to an extent, but the Washington Post much more overtly and much more in depth took to task the Obama administration for strengthening NSA laws that were deemed to be overarching and that they thought were overarching and unconstitutional. They went after Obama for breaking campaign promises, and they did equally call on the carpet the Obama administration for some of the things that he did and for breaking some of his promises as a campaign. Here's the difference, though. CNN and your cable news networks never reported it because there were other things that they deemed more important. And this is the problem with people, with the citizenry, that takes all of its news from one place. By that I mean television. If you don't stop and you don't read multiple magazines and multiple newspapers, you don't know what they're reporting, and that's the big thing. Now with Trump and everything, it's a sexy story for TV. It's great because there's a possibility for scandal. It goes back to the old "it bleeds, it leads" line. Never mind that Trump may have done something illegal or put the country in jeopardy. This is sexy television. That's why they want it. Talking about Obama strengthening security laws that may have violated the Constitution, that's not sexy. Nobody cares about that. Here's a bear in a tree. That's why they didn't report it. The New York Times and the Washington Post did their due diligence with Obama, and believe me, they called him on the carpet more than once. Problem is, unless you read their papers, you never knew about it. And that was the thing with, I didn't think it was PolitiFact who called it out. I think during his campaign, Trump called out the Times and the Post, claiming that they never criticized Obama. And it came back as false because PolitiFact was able to find those instances where Obama got railed for some of his programs and some of the initiatives that he pushed and some of the bills he signed. They definitely called spades with Obama, but it never got picked up by your CNNs or your Fox Newses or your MSNBCs. The criticism that Fox News gave to Obama missed the mark completely. They were going after BS that didn't matter. All the while, all the other stuff that President Obama did that may have violated the Constitution or violated the law just got ignored. Everybody's like, oh well, it doesn't matter. People who were criticizing Obama were looking for a birth certificate. That was a sexier story than the NSA. President Obama getting a new dog. That's a sexier, prettier story than Obama and the NSA. It all comes down to what television news is trying to sell to the viewer. One of my former anchors, who shall go unnamed, once told me, he said, Ian, I wish I could tell my viewers at the end of a newscast that they need to pick up a newspaper and read it so they can get more in depth on these stories. And he's absolutely right. On TV, you're getting 15-second synopses of a bigger story that happened. In the case of the Obama presidency, if you didn't read the New York Times or the Washington Post, you'd never know that Obama got criticized by anybody.
And talking about MSNBC and CNN, man, these people better hope in 4 years that Donald Trump gets reelected, because you want to know why?
Why?
If he doesn't, they won't let him to talk about. And I'm telling you now, brother, I watch them all, and man, when I put it on CNN or MSNBC, that's all you hear is Donald Trump. Trump. I'm serious. That's all they talk about.
Right.
They talk about nothing else.
But it's a, but it's,
people are obsessed, man.
but it's a big, again, it's a big story. It's a big story.
They got nothing to talk about.
But it's
of course, it really don't matter, because I'm going to go. MSNBC is ranked last.
Right.
They have been last for years. Out of the 6 or 7, news of it, they are dead last. MSNBC is dead last.
But here's
that's where they're going to stay. They
But-
need to stay there too.
but here's the thing, Lynn, and
I'm gonna name 2 of them that are really pathetic. To me, there are no more. Lawrence O'Donnell and Rachel Maddow are the 2 most pathetic people on television.
but here's a.
They're worse than pathetic.
I'm not going to comment on Maddow and O'Donnell because I don't watch them. So I don't know what they do.
Just watch them sometimes, glance and see.
Yeah.
They're pathetic.
But Lynn, here's the thing, and again, I've consumed news my entire life. If I'm going to spend my time and watch a news product, I'm going to watch someone that I know is down the middle, and at the very least doesn't overtly slant itself. So if I'm watching cable news, I'm going to watch CNN, because at the very least they still haven't jumped the shark. However, MSNBC is in 3rd place because it tried skewing to the left. It tried being the counterpart to Fox News' conservative bent, and it didn't work for them. Now they're trying to come back and trying to be more neutral and be NBC News' cable wing, which they should have been doing a long time ago. But now they've got to shed the reputation of being the liberal network. Fox News can work as a conservative network because people are pissed off and people are pining for the way things used to be. Fox News gives them that outlook. And here's the thing, Carol Ross was on KPEL last week, and I heard a little bit of her show, and she asked, why are there no liberal radio networks? Why are there no liberal radio talk shows? And the fact of the matter is, the audience...
That's why.
Exactly. America One failed, or America Live, excuse me. America One was an internet sports network, but the America On Air, America whatever it was called, that network failed drastically. It lasted for a few years, but they couldn't generate any revenue because they couldn't generate listenership. And the fact of the matter is, with it, the people who are listening to radio and people who are watching cable news aren't seeking a liberal bent. Folks who identify as liberal or identify as progressive are looking online for their various think tanks. They're the ones who are more likely to go out and read multiple sources, or at least that's allegedly what they're supposed to be doing. And they're the ones who aren't listening to radio in droves. Conservative radio works because it attracts statistically an older, more male audience, and that's why those numbers are able to skew upwards. And the fact of the matter is, the other reason conservative radio works, and this is where I give Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and all the others of their ilk credit. They're all radio people. Glenn Beck is a student of radio theater. He's a student of Orson Welles. He's a theater of drama. He knows how to suck an audience in and knows how to keep them in the palm of his hand. Same thing with Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh was a top 40 DJ. He understands language. He understands how to get a point across in 30 seconds or less. He understands how to engage his audience because he's been doing it for so damn long. He's been doing a good job at it. That's why Rush and Glenn Beck and all of these and conservative radio work, because the majority of the folks who are in it have worked in radio and they understand the medium. The folks who are on the liberal side with the America Live or America On Air, whatever it was called, they weren't radio people. They didn't know how to keep an audience. It was boring as hell. Say what?
Yeah, it was Air America.
Air America. There we go.
And one of their big commentators was Anna Marie Cox.
Yes.
Remember her?
Uh-huh.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, hey, look, I have a lot of complaints about Donald Trump too now. Okay. There's 2 things I wish he would stop doing, but I don't guess he ever will. Number one, take that damn Twitter feed.
Yes.
Put that shit in garbage. That's number one.
Yep.
And number two, somebody needs to just take some duct tape and just tape it around his mouth.
That's the other thing.
He says the stupidest, some stupid.
And you,
Man,
and you know the sad,
why you keep saying this stuff?
and you know the sad part about that, Lynn? All of this mess surrounding him right now, all of this would have blown over or never would have happened if he would have stayed off of Twitter, and if he would let Sean Spicer and Sarah Huckabee Sanders be the mouthpieces. Let them talk. Don't say anything. Don't tweet anything. Let your press secretaries do your job, do the job of speaking for you. Let them be the mouthpiece. But the problem is he runs his mouth and contradicts everything they say, and at this point, the White House can't control the message. So
I used to criticize Obama for being on television every day, but at least Obama didn't have all that, some of that ridiculous crap coming out, you know.
And not only that, he didn't deviate from the message. Everybody had a set message. They knew what the focus of the White House was, and they stayed on target with it. They never deviated from it. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. And the bigger problem is, we're what? 4 months in. We're 4 months and a day since the inauguration. The White House is still woefully understaffed, so nobody knows whether he's coming or going or what's going on. That's the biggest problem. Trump hasn't hired full staffers, or hasn't hired all of his people, so you still have people from the previous administration who are working, and that ain't helping the mission either.
I don't know what the hell is going on.
So at this point, I quite honestly, you know what? I think Donald Trump is trying to kill his own presidency. That's what it seems like. That's the only logical reason I can think of. I think he's finally realized, oh crap, I'm in over my head. What can I do now?
So when I voted for Trump, I wasn't voting for Trump. I was voting against Hillary.
Right, and there are a lot of people who voted for that. I can understand why people voted for him. I don't agree with the indecision, but I understand why. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think anybody expected that we'd be in this turmoil that we have right now.
He sure got a hero's welcome to Saudi Arabia. They laid the red carpet out and everything for him.
Yeah, he also when you sell the Saudis more than $100 million worth of weapons, I would hope that you get the red carpet at least.
So I don't know I don't know what you think is going to happen.
Put it this way, Mike Pence is going to become the president. I don't know how, I don't know when, but this ends with Trump leaving office before the end of his term.
You think he's going to quit?
I don't know if he quits or if he resigns or if he gets impeached or what happens.
He ain't
But
going to get impeached.
I don't think that's going to happen either. I think he's just going to say to hell with this and give up. That would be that.
You know, there's more smoke than this. This is a lot more smoke than fire. All I know is this: You've been investigated for 10 months. They still ain't found concrete evidence of Jack. What I like to know, how much longer this is going to go on?
It's not even the investigation. I don't think it's going to be the investigation that makes him quit. The investigation might be part of it, but I think what ultimately makes him say to hell with this is the fact that he's going to realize he's going to get so isolated, or he's already become so isolated from the outside world. He's going to finally realize, I cannot run the country the way I ran a business. I cannot be the chief executive. I cannot do what I want, when I want, how I want. What's the point of this? I quit. I think his lack of understanding of government is going to frustrate him to the point where he gives up office shortly after a year.
Because like I said, I still don't know what they think they're going to find.
Well, that's the thing. They may not find anything.
I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. I know what Mueller's going to find. He's going to find zero. That's what he's going to find. Find what? What are they looking for?
I don't know. But depending on...
What do you think they're going to find?
I think they're going to find that he still has money invested in Russia. I think they'll find that that he knew about Michael Flynn's. Michael Flynn's work for Turkey. They knew about his relationship with Russia. I think they'll find that Michael Flynn put the United States in a precarious situation as National Security Advisor. They may not find anything that comes down to high crimes and misdemeanors.
Flynn's not even there. What they gonna do to Trump?
But here's the
He's not
thing.
gonna get impeached.
They may not find anything that amounts to high crimes and misdemeanors, but they will find that general stupidity that put the United States in a bad predicament.
And if he does have investments in, didn't he say? It was a known fact he had some investments in Russia when he was running.
Well, but the thing is, if he'd have pulled them out before January 20th, he'd be good. But if he still has the investments there now, he's in violation of the emoluments clause, which in and of itself is grounds for impeachment.
Yeah.
So therein lies the rub. If he's still investing in Russia, he's got a foreign interest. He cannot be president. So that's the thing. Again, we've got a long, long way to go. Let's see how this plays out before we definitively say what's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before I go, we still got about 5-6 minutes. I'm gonna get ready to go, but I still say, if I ever see Nancy Pelosi, I want to apologize to her and tell her. For years, I accused you of being the biggest idiot woman in Congress. You are not. I'm gonna say this again. Maxine Waters, you are pitiful. You're worse than pitiful. The people of California are pitiful too, for electing people like you, man. You ever see, come on now, be honest here. This has nothing to do with politics. Every time they litigate television, this is the same thing. Down the concrete, yes, I'm gonna keep on working.
Right. She's
all kind of bullshit.
But she's the one who's willing to go up there and sound the horn. I don't blame her. Where everybody who went on TV and said Obama was this and Obama was that, they said the same thing. It is what it is. I got to let you go. I got somebody calling in.
Catch you next week. Thank you, man.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Caller, go ahead. Caller, you're live on 124 Remain. Go ahead.
I was wondering what happened.
Hold on. You're breaking up. Try again. Going once. Going twice. Bad cell phone. Try again. Try again. But going back to the Maxine Waters comment, look, she's on TV. She's saying what she wants about Trump. That's fine. We went through it with 8 years of Obama. During the Bush administration, we went through 8 years of people on TV saying things about Bush, good and bad. Towards the end of Clinton's reign, same thing. It happens with every president. And the fact of the matter is, say what you want about Maxine Waters and people electing her, I'm sure there are people around the country who are laughing at us for electing Clay Higgins. It goes both ways, so it is what it is. Before we go, we've got 4 minutes to go, and I'll close out on this thought. And I wanted to get to this earlier, but we got hung up on the Donald Trump thing. The Confederate monuments in New Orleans, or I should say the Jim Crow era monuments of New Orleans, there were 4 of them. All 4 have now been removed. It's about time. Say what you will about history. Say what you will about New Orleans allegedly removing history. Say what you will about Mitch Landrieu. But the fact of the matter is it was the right decision and it was overdue. Let's start off with the Liberty Place Monument. A monument that at one point stood at the foot of Canal Street. A monument that literally celebrated white supremacy in Louisiana post-Civil War. You don't believe me? Go read the inscription on the statue, or go find a picture of the inscription that once was, or that was on the statue when it stood. The inscription that said that the statue was there to honor those who got rid of the usurpers of the state's government and reinstalled white supremacy in Louisiana. Caller, you were there and you left. Try again. It's about time the Liberty Place Monument went. Same thing with Jefferson Davis and with Robert E. Lee. 2 statues of 2 men who there's no historical record that they ever set foot in the state of Louisiana. No historical record they stepped foot in New Orleans. It's about time they went. Especially Robert E. Lee, who with his back turned to the north was staring down one of the predominantly black areas of the city of New Orleans. Symbolism there? Caller, go ahead. Caller.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. You're breaking up again. You need to go get you a better phone than that flip phone you're using, man. It's not working. But Jeff Davison and Robert E. Lee, so long, sayonara, goodbye. Pierre Gustave Touton Beauregard has a complex history. I don't have enough time to get into that tonight. I'll save that discussion for next week because we're out of time. God willing, and if the checks don't bounce, I'll see you back here next Sunday night from 6 until 7. Stay tuned. The Community Defender is coming up next right here on AOC. And, of course, Voices of African Americans with John Bess here in this same studio at 8 o'clock on the Acadiana Open Channel. Until we see you again next week, I'm Ian Ozan reminding you, don't take life too seriously. You're not getting out alive anyway. Good night, everybody.